What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sleep Atomic, and we're reviewing Ahsoka, Episode 3, Time to Fly. And right off, we get one of those training scenes. It almost seems like a training to be the character, but it looks like a training scene for Ahsoka. Like, I have the weirdest feeling that she's like trying to teach Sabine the Force. Like, she has no like indicators of her being able to actually wield the Force, but she's like, I could probably do it. Like, that's what the neutral part of the Force was trying to tell me. If not, we at least have someone that knows the saber stuff. I don't know if she's trying to preserve it but I would imagine there's like people just going up to her is like, hey, teach me how to be a good fighter or something. But she like has no idea really how to. It's like I just it's just natural to me. But she does at least have some like technique names memorized and stuff. She walks in on Huyang and Sabine. What looks like she's cutting up like little tatami mats, but they're like little light indicators to see how she cuts the little things in each stance. They look like full on like lightsabers, but it's like a little hollow projector coming out of like a little four handles, and then we kind of like get to see that the little backpack Huyang is attached to is like a placement for like two other hands, and it's just kind of like folded up. And he at least knows of like lightsaber stances and strikes. He has a small argument about whether or not a Sabine can do one of these like drills. It's like, oh, maybe she can try Zatoshi, and then he's like, no, I don't think so. Like, it kind of looks like it's reverse psychology, and he's like discouraging her, so she's being encouraged to do the Force better. There's a few little angles, like windows of certain things that could be there, but I'm like, I don't think she's got it at all. She might end up with it, or Ahsoka might be like doing it for her. But she's already melee fighter apparently, and she knows how to use firearms. But it kind of gives you that like feeling like, oh, she's trying to do that, be the guiding force right now, and don't have to like become a force ghost or a part of the force. It's just like a little. She's just feeling just this one person instead of just like uh this other person already having a connection and then going to die. It's like I don't like that force, but the force that I want it to be like it, it doesn't let anyone just kind of like get hurt or maimed. She's like almost just about to like let her think she's doing the force, and she's got like major range of force wielding right now. And it's like, oh, Sabine needs some help over there. She has major range on the sensing stuff, and then just like the telekinesis part. So she's just like, oh, I gotta throw her a bone and like force push. She's still training, quote, quote, so I don't have to like back her up most of the time. Before, like, the force was like kind of like a violent little like a guiding rail thing, just or for survival, and then like the force that she wants to be the fuel for is like for encouragement, I guess, and actually picking people off their feet that are like, in the gutter. It's like all but like choosing like your own force wielders instead of like oh it almost like goes to like the people that would harm people anyways. Like why would that go there? Like no wonder there was like several wars or whatever. Like I think that's still canon. But uh successfully Sabine like blindfold fights for like a while, even though like it takes her a second and practically she probably would have been hurt and probably like down at least. Theories aside, she at least is like sharpening her like senses. She's like going off of sound at least. Like she's like trying to figure out what the force sensing is like going off of to eventually tap into it. But it looks like a for real lesson. I'm sorry, I didn't actually drop it, but but she has this pretty cool like utility room, even though like technically the table that they could be possibly eating off of like is the floor. So you would have to like wipe it before you have to like use it. I'm sure there's like a space spray, but it's also a training room and like a little like ready room. They take little hollow calls there. I guess that would mean it's like a little computer room, but like it's just because of like the little column. And then at the very end, she's just like, Sabine's like getting some like good hits in, and then she's like, oh well, anger and frustration are quick to give you power, and then she's like, let's go again. Like it's like not like discouraging the use of emotion there, but it plays it so well that it's not like it's not discouragement, but it's also like just so you know, that's what happens. Like it's something she's seen before, but it's like that's not what I do. But like there's obviously like Sith doing that, and they could use the Force just fine. Just like well, if it gets you there, it also just gives you that that they've done the drills before. Maybe it's like oh yeah, we've trained before, blah blah blah. Just to where it's like a regular like oh like just stick to your drills, and then you can like I don't know if you ever had like a coach like that for not even just like the martial arts, just saying like stick to what you know, blah blah blah. Okay, you know. And as I was saying, the kind of is letting you know the thought process of most of the characters really in a way that like doesn't really like make you think that's what they're doing, but it's so practical. Like there's got to be like a way like everyone's doing it, and then just saying that in itself is kind of like okay, yeah, all right, well, I'm sure Ahsoka can teach her the Force, right? Like straight up, with no potential like and on the horizons, other than just her liking Sabine and wanting her to learn the Force. It's kind of like not liking the kinds of people that keep coming to you, or like the kinds of people you regularly attract, or the kinds of people that you're already like. You're not like totally convinced that you're like about that life. And it gets to what Syndulla's doing while they're all getting ready to go see what the other Force users are doing with the orange lightsabers. We see her green haired son, just a little boy with green hair, not green skin. And we see a little conference between her and the senators because she's like asking for like certain authority and permission for of resources, blah blah. We get to see Mon Mothma and four other senators. We're supposed to equate them to her if we're aware of her. Otherwise, like just the one word should probably like cover it. It's like, oh, senators. And eventually someone's like general, like, hey, like you just want to go like use the resources to go do that. It's like, well, I know how to make that call. Like, were you in the war? Like, oh, right. And then the other one of the other senators is like, okay, hey, we're senators here. Like, you're asking us for stuff. He's like, you might have it out for that guy or like whatever, but it's like, oh, but you should just see Syndulla's like face, like, oh. I would say she's like staring like daggers into that guy. It's like, I get it. You're aware of Ezra and like what I usually am doing stuff for, but like, I know I'm a general, like, and it kind of like keeps going on, but like, you're like, oh wow, that was like, it's kind of like one of those things, like, they're like really serious about it. I'm not sure if it's like, hey, I was in the war that got us here, or like, it's like, I'm actually doing stuff. Like, what are you doing? It's like, oh my goodness, we have ourselves a thing here. It's almost like she's like training the senator, that one senator that's a little to the right, but they all stay poised and without it just inflating into like something else. It's like, all right, well, we all are in charge of a lot of people and have a lot of resources, but that one thing bothering them doesn't go unaired. It's not so raw of a thing like, oh, I just don't like you, but it's kind of like, hey, like this could be coming your way anyway. So they're all just like barely testing each other, but just enough to where it's like a little off uh, the beaten path, but it's like still on like on routine. We get another like small thing of like Ahsoka like trying to be like, oh, like being like very mild and like more friendly about the training. It's like, oh, they're like sitting down drinking tea, but the rest of the episode's pretty much just the action part before the part we need to know for the end of the story, which is just the that they get stranded on the planet that they have the star map pulled up on. I think that the planet's called Denab, but it has red trees, the space whales, but uh the apprentice and like five other people plus Marok are like trying to like chase him, gun him down, and they pretty much have like the propeller planes, like, but it's literally like a converted one that's like a space or a star ship. I don't know what they call them, but I just know that the one that's like the Red Baron ship and little ships that have the gunning thing on the back. From basically the time that the planes were the first militarized and used, they're like starships right now. Ahsoka's ship, the Fulcrum, is damaged and she has to take it down and turn off the power so they can't find her. But they're down on the planet as well. I'm not sure if they're completely aware, but they saw the ring that was trying to take them out, and you see a little bit of defiance between uh, Morgan and the apprentice, just because like that one moment it kind of shows that she feels like she has more power than them, at least while she's like flying. it's the first bit of like little friction. It's like, hey, you missed. I'm sure that's gonna blossom out eventually. But we get to see at least the face of the certain troops that Morgan has uh, in the hyperspace ring ship thing, and they all have like these like face mask on, and like there's like a little tube going elsewhere, but yeah, none of them like have like faces that you can identify. They have like a bunch of gear. Looks like they have another like little army besides the stormtroopers and the droids like that. This episode wasn't nearly as long because it wasn't a premiere episode, so it's just the 20-30 minutes. There's enough of like intricate like interactions for me to like say it's like enough of an episode. I see why it wasn't like just straight up a movie because like it usually has like the other characters like the soldiers, which pretty much are in the Mandalorian, and then just like the Frey characters, and, like, those are over at the Andor ones, and this one was like the kind of like more valuable characters with some of the other characters like filtering in, showing the importance that the action was built on. But you really could say that about any of the other characters, like the Frey characters. It was like the characters that are most like everybody like in the audience, or at least if you have to like talk to other people. And the soldier characters I it's designated was like the most equipped, maybe physically and maybe ideologically, to deal with whatever's happening in their galaxy. And that kind of just leaves like everything else, which is like the reason, which is the Jedi, the people with the lightsabers, the people that are base level considered the New Republic, and the other side. And oh yeah, and Mon Mothma's a chancellor in this one too. She's not just a senator anymore. I know she was my favorite character in Andor, and she's a chancellor now, so it looks like her story progressed as well, like in there. But she's definitely like one of those like bigger unseen threads. Even by the way, she's just like not really trying to like take sides. It kind of looks like she's like a little uneasy, but she's like, "You don't want me pulling any threads. Like you're gonna know when I do it." So we got the what, why, and who, and we get to see how and when like play out in front of us. One of the hows of trying to get out of the spot that they got in when they got stuck in space. Ahsoka like going out with the lightsabers, pretty like on point there. I could see all those lightsabers versus starship thing. That one's gotta be my favorite there. And then all like the pep talk that Sabine's been getting. I don't know if it's a pep talk for real, but the one she gets in the gunner seat is pretty cool too. She finally gets to just go do something about it instead of like get ready. He's like, "Oh, see, like I got this. Like we got this." She's laying down some direction of her own, like getting us so we can see Sabine like get ready for the shot and then take the shot. I mean that metaphorically, but it might not hit right. And then we get a nice, cool planar moment when they like finally get into atmosphere, even though it's not like something they wanted. And they're like, "Whoa!" Well, anyway, thanks for the cover. Like, and then later she's like, more or less like spacing out after she's like, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen those since like I seen Ezra." It's supposed to be like a oh, that's a good sign thing. But then she's kind of like spacing out a little bit. She's kind of like not as engaged, but she was like really engaged before. So I would say that's another good sign. It's kind of relating to the force thing. He's like, oh, she's getting into the zone now. He's like, cool. But yeah, I won't keep you too long. This was Sleep Atomic, and I'm Alistair. If no one's told you yet, you look good, and it shows.